You better edit that out.
No.
Who wants to get hit by this?
Adrian does.
Adrian?
Yeah, do it.
No, it's staying
It was
in.
made to freak you out. It wasn't made for YouTube. That's my body, baby. Ah, that actually hurts. That's good though. I think I lost weight.
Guys, if you've watched our previous video on the Destiny, you know I sort of fell in love with it at first sight. And if you follow us on Facebook, I've alluded to this moment. Through a friend of a friend, I was able to get my hands on a total now of 22 Destiny mags. And these weren't sold and bought commercially. This was a friend of pulling every string I could find. But I have them, and that's all that matters. I went and bought the Destiny that Chew had, and I'm going to HPA mod it in this video. If you've watched our previous video, modding the Destiny to have a front trigger, you will recognize this blaster that we have on the table. And I just paid for it from Chew. So, this has already been modified with what I believe is an absolutely essential mod in order to put the trigger here. And what we're going to do today is modify it not to need a pump or a rubber air bladder. What we're going to be doing is basically feeding compressed air from a paintball bottle in through this hose directly into the mechanism with no storage. So for those of you who have watched my video on the HPA Sledgefire, this is what feeds in the compressed air. And in order to interface it with the blaster, we use this. This is a 6mm push connect, and if my measuring is right, that will simply press onto that hose. Nice and simple. And then once that's in place, this clicks on, and this feeds air directly from the regulator out of the paintball bottle. Cut the pump off, epoxy that in place, connect in the hose like that, and then fill up the interface with the rubber bladder just to plug that connection off. Let's get rid of this guy, snip him off here. I want to leave as much on just in case. This should work. Ah, excellent. So we're gonna have to trim out here a bit to give us a little bit more reach on this piece of pipe. I lied, I'm not gonna use the Dremel, I'm gonna use side cutters just because I am feeling super mega lazy right now. Ooh, that's annoying. Well, I originally wanted to take the thing out here, but I might not have enough length on this hose. Maybe if I clip this little tab off, this bit, I should still be able to get a trigger in here. You thought this was gonna be cool and special and high-tech? No. Do we have enough length? No, we do not. How obnoxious. Can we cheat? Waste of components, but it's okay. In fact, that might mean I don't even have to use epoxy putty. A male to a female, and then put this, so I've just extended that out.
In this episode of not wearing safety glasses.
Perfect. And perfectly safe. Perfect. Okay, so you don't need fancy tools to do modding, kids.
Just need tenacity and are willing to learn.
Or, you know, side cutters. Perfect, look at that. So that's not the end of it, because what we need to do now is put thread tape, which is this stuff, because threads of screws are inherently leaky, and we just put some Teflon, bop, and that will seal it right up. Heavy duty thread tape on, because this stuff, the pink stuff, is way better than the white stuff or the blue stuff. Wrap it around, and then thread that in. And now I'm gonna get a spanner and just take this down to the right length for the hole that we just drilled. Okay, I think that's about it. Doesn't have to be super precise. And that should sit right there. Perfect. Perfect. Now what we need to do is fill that hole. I think I'm gonna do that with epoxy putty.
How are you going to do it so it doesn't just drip inside of it?
That's why I'm using epoxy putty, not epoxy. I'll ram some down the hole, but not too much, because that's still a spring mechanism in there. So my original thought was to dribble epoxy down the hole, but that's a terrible idea, because if it fills up, it'll just ruin thingy. I know epoxy putty is good enough for this job because I have done similar things with a Titan. A knife edge file. Score this up a bit. Now it's got these nice 2 ridges from the O-rings, so I won't really need to do a good job of this, but whenever you want to glue 2 things, it's good to have like a rough surface for the glue to actually bond onto, so.
I was serious about the soap.
I'm not going to use soap.
You reckon?
I don't think it'll need soap. Just because, like, look at the shape, you know, the epoxy is going to physically bond into those ridges, so I'm not worried about it coming off. If it was a flat surface that I was just sticking epoxy onto, 100% I'd use soap. Come on. It's like the least elegant plastic removal I've ever done. I should be ashamed. I think this is way too much epoxy.
Need it like a cat needs a beanbag.
What? I'm disturbed.
Oh, ha!
Huh? You make no sense at the best of times, you know that, right? I've spent a lot of time in the past trying to seal up holes like this, and I've tried a bunch of different things, but this works. If all else fails, I could epoxy a 6mm coupling there, then use a separate pneumatic valve, if worse comes to worse.
The exothermic reaction.
It's always cool.
It's getting hot. Really hot?
It's warm.
Ooh.
It's fun. You can actually start problems with epoxy. When I was in first year aeronautical engineering, one of our subjects was to construct a fiberglass kit aircraft. It was really fun. Anyway, it was a lot of epoxy work that we had to do.
Wait, kit aircraft? You mean like an ultralight or something?
Yeah.
Like...
No. It was a Jabiru J160C. It's a 2-seat fiberglass aircraft. Like, proper. Sort of looks like a Cessna, but not quite.
Guess it makes sense if you're learning to make planes, you have to build planes for your assessment.
Yeah, pretty much. And yeah, so it was a lot of fiberglass work, and so we were dealing with lots of epoxy all the time. And so what would happen is you'd mix up a bunch of epoxy in like a cup, and if you mixed up too much epoxy with too much hardener, it would get so hot that the actual cups would melt. Yeah, particularly when you're doing flock, which is just shredded glass and epoxy. Good times. If you're not sure how this particular mechanism works, go watch our first review and teardown video of the Destiny. I cover in quite good detail how this system works, and it's exactly the same as a mag strike or an RF-20. Now, let's just put that back in there. That goes there. And now, this new connector goes like that. That should be it. Now, I will play around with what pressure goes in. I'm not exactly sure what the stock bladder was, but yeah, I'll find out. What we've got here is a LPA setup, or low pressure air setup, that I use for testing. Now, this is because it's way easier to just fill this up when I need to, instead of always going to fill my paintball tank. So, what this is we have a 4 litre, or about 1 gallon air. Now this has been pumped up, which we can see on this dial here, to a bit under 90 psi, maybe 85 psi. And we have a regulator here that controls the output pressure. Now this is currently set very low for testing. It's only about 5 psi, and then I can just turn this dial here to adjust that up or down. Clip this onto the Destiny. Cool. Let's see if this works. Alright, it works. It did fill it, but the pressure isn't high enough, so let's raise that to, let's just go to 25. All right. Oof.
Fuck. I think 25 might be high. Maybe go down a little.
That's obnoxious, because I wanted to use this as a secondary blaster to my sledge fire. Now my sledge fire uses about 60 psi. Now if this uses 25, that's really annoying, because that means I can't use them both at the same time, because if that's 25, 60 psi will just ruin it. We could try.
Well, can't you just get a second reg?
No, it's not simple because I have the paintball bottle and then that goes directly into the reg and then that goes to our two outputs. I mean, I guess I could have a reg in between there. I could take one of my old regs. Yeah, that's a thing. I could go from like 60 psi down to 25. Yeah. All right. I'm still happy with 25 psi. That seems like an insane rate of fire.
I think maybe take it down to 15. Just
Screw
we'll see.
your rules. Because you got to remember the Destiny fire is a lot quicker when there's no mag in it. And fire. What's going on?
Missing a bit.
Something might be. Let me close up the shell and put a few screws in it. I cut out a screw port in order to get it in, and now it's always going to be open like that.
Run a zip tie around that loop area.
Yeah, I might make a new screw port with some epoxy putty or something. Ah, okay, I see what's happened. Just that little orange nub was being held back, that's all. Alright. Yeah, so that's too low. Too low for my tastes. Let's go up to about... That's fucked. In the best way. I think that's a bit too high.
I think a little bit lower.
Yeah, a little bit lower, thanks.
I think that's good.
That's really cool. If you want to see some gameplay of this using my 4,500 psi paintball bottle instead of a clunky LPA tank, click here in about 2 weeks. And if you want to see me put 420 darts through this thing in rapid succession, click there, because apparently people like that. Well, I hope this has been just educational enough. It's an incredibly simple mod if you have the know-how for this sort of stuff, and I think this elevates the Destiny into a top-tier blaster. So, until next time, I've been Ryan from Make.Test.Battle, and...
Bye!
Bye! Now, in the future, what I might do is take one of these trigger valves, which is the same thing I used in the Sledgefire video, and place one behind the stock Destiny trigger with a splitter so that I can then feed a separate QEV based, not this tank, but you know, a QEV based blaster to have like a rocket launcher or maybe a shotgun or maybe a modular system for on top using the rear trigger. So either way, this trigger is coming out for now, and so is this pump. So we'll do that. It's actually quite easy. Hey guys!
You bitches, interrupting Ryan's flow.
Were you flowing like an MC rapper?
I was flowing like an MC rapper, and I have a filled paintball bottle.
I'll beatbox for you.
Right, let the sick
I was dancing!
I need a pee.
Performance anxiety.
Yeah.
Stage fright. Nervous bowel syndrome.
I'm on. Good, how are you? Oh, marvelous.
An Amazon link to some cool side cutters in the description. We'll shut the door because Adrian's talking to his mum on the phone.
Alright.
Oh. Sorry, Alex. Did you want to come in?
Give me all your money.
Oh.
Justin?
You better edit that out.
No.
No, you have to.
No, no, it's staying
It was
in.
made to freak you out. It wasn't made for YouTube. That's my body, baby. I'm getting out of the camera now.
That would be a wise decision.
I'll put it up censored. I'll pixelate out your nipples.
At least put memes on my nipples.
Free the nipple though.
Put emoji faces on your nipples.
Yeah.
No, we'll do one better. We'll put like pictures of Bobo on your nipples.
Oh, that would be amazing. Make my whole body morph into Bobo's face.
Perfect.
I should have been filming when I spooked him.
Yeah.
Oh well. It's alright, we'll censor you.
I'm not ready for a sex tape yet.
Justin. Thomas.
Yeah.
Oh, let's not use that one because that's the full pressure. Let's use regulated pressure.
But floor pressure,
All right.
Ryan. Holy crap.
Maybe you don't want to use.
Wow.
You reddened my bobo.
That's... Alright, I did not expect that from a Destiny.